Croeso, welcome to this Miss Hubnut video. Slightly different format today because we want to share with you Rhondda Heritage Park here in the Rhondda Valley. It's an absolutely fantastic place and we want to take you on a little bit of a tour. We're going to go on a tour and go underground. There is a car show here today, and contrary to popular belief by Mini Hubnut, the cars are not underground, but we will be going underground, and we'll tell you a little bit both about this venue and also about the history of coal mining in Wales, because it just played a fundamental part in the culture and the social changes in Wales and the financial changes in Wales. Just everything sort of hinges on coal mining. So come with us and we'll take you on a tour. So the Rhondda Heritage Centre is here on the site of the Merthyr Lewis Colliery. As you can see, there were two shafts, one called Trevor and one called Bertie. I think one opened in 1880 and one in 1890, and they were named after the owner's two sons. So we had Trevor and Bertie, as I say. I believe they also opened a third shaft about a mile up the road. The mine, as I say, is no longer functional, but it is an amazing place to come and see and to understand how all things worked in coal mining. All the equipment and so on is still here, which is really rare because with industrial things it tends to either just be left to rot or taken to the ground. So, mining in Wales. So, Wales is a very mineral-rich land, and from the Bronze Age people were mining for minerals like tin and zinc and indeed, of course, gold. When the Romans came to Wales, they did some mining as well, and you can see evidence of gold mining up in Dorlai Corthi. But when it came to sort of the 19th century, the attention shifted to coal. The Rhondda Valley had one of the richest seams of coal in the whole entire world. From 1880 onwards and the Industrial Revolution, it was absolutely booming. The ports of Cardiff and I believe Swansea were transporting huge amounts of coal across the world, and also the new port of Barry, as in Barry Island, was created, and at one point was actually the biggest coal moving port in the whole wide world, and then Cardiff was second to Barry. So an absolutely huge industry, and with it came lots of people. At one point there was a huge amount of houses being built, and they said that there were over 23,000 people per square mile in the Rhondda Valley. There are also over 54 mines in the valley. The seam is quite small, but it's very, very rich. The population, I think men outnumbered women. It was something like 857 women to 1,000 men. So if there was a wedding or if there was a child born, it was very much celebrated. And you can see a beautiful little wedding dress. It's actually inspired me, if you do come here, for my wedding dress. So as you can see, I think it was humble beginnings of a certain amount of coal being taken to France and then a huge order being placed. Welsh coal went all over the world and really drove industry all over the world. And it was a small area that was providing the coal. But it wasn't an easy life for the coal miners. It was hot, it was dirty, and it was dangerous. But let's focus on the positives. Possibly you can hear in the background the choral singing, and the valleys are well known for their male voice choirs. But as well as that, they also created social clubs and libraries and reading rooms for themselves. And 50 years before the advent of the NHS, they were creating their own hospitals. And I believe they were helpful in the creation of the NHS. So it wasn't all negative, but I do think if we're talking about mining in Wales, we do need to focus on some of the negatives, but we'll get to that in a moment. Sadly, coal mining in Wales didn't last. 19th century, early 20th century, it was absolutely booming. Come the Depression in the 1930s, it absolutely bombed. And then the Second World War, it picked up because, of course, the coal was needed. And then beyond there, it's gradually died. Is the exhibit that really, really struck me here, because this actually is what was known as a dead man's bath, and this is actually from the Lewis Merthyr Colliery. So, as I mentioned, it is very dangerous work and there were often accidents. It's unofficially known as a dead man's bath because this could possibly be the last bath that you took on Earth, because if you had an accident underground, you would be placed into this bath, cleaned and removed from the pit site, and you might not recover from those injuries that you had. So this kind of leads me into some of the awful accidents that have happened over time. So as I mentioned, it was extremely dangerous to work in the mines. There were explosions, there were collapses and so on, as well as the fact that you might have long-term illnesses caused by having worked down the mines. Some of the ones to note were the Albion mining disaster, 290 lives lost. I believe it was all men and boys. But the Senghenedd incident, 493 lives lost. Men and boys, the youngest of whom was 13. 11 men lost from one household. And with the Senghenedd incident, there's no clarity exactly as to what happened. And I feel it's because money talks. The mine owner was fined £10 and the mine manager £24 for that horrific loss of life. But perhaps the most well-known mining incident actually didn't involve miners. It involved small children and the community of Aberfan. In 1966 at 9:13 a.m, just as the school day was beginning, 144 children and adults lost their lives. I believe it was 116 children and 28 adults lost their lives due to the instant liquefaction of the slag heap above the school. And people had campaigned against the slag heap for many, many years, and it just crushed the school, and all those innocent lives were lost. So a horrific, dangerous place to work. So I've mentioned the big cultural parts of living in the valleys, and another part, you can see I'm sat on a chapel bench here, was the chapel. Predominantly Calvinistic Methodists, with the influx, I can't emphasise how much the population grew, and to accommodate for that, 151 chapels were built in the valleys. So we're just sat in one of the exhibits here at the Rhondda Heritage Park. There is so much to see here. We haven't even been on the tour yet, and we're just absolutely thrilled with the things that we've seen. There's a little exhibit here about Welsh households and the chapel and the wedding dress. And then upstairs there's a full history of coal mining in Wales. You can go on a tour. You can book an individual tour and have a buffet and things. You can book it to link with trips to the Royal Mint and a distillery. Absolutely fantastic place and a huge fundamental part of Welsh history. I would absolutely recommend coming here. And of course, as is very important to a Miss Hubnut video, they have a cafe. And we've been in the cafe, and I don't think I'm ever going to eat again. I had the biggest custard slice I've ever had in my life. It was absolutely delicious. Mr. Hubnut, I had to stop him halfway through his cake. He had a slice of vanilla and raspberry cheesecake. How was it? Oh, it was good. We get a thumbs up on that one. And Minnie Hubnut found the sweets. It's a lovely little cafe. It's got so many details on the walls and so on. You could sit there for hours and look. And really good service. Everybody we've met here has been super friendly and super helpful. The young lady on reception greeted us, told me exactly where everything was, told me where the loos are, which is always important. But disabled access. Yeah, it has disabled access. It seems to be very accessibility friendly. Oh, hello. Devin's come to chapel as well. Shall we start singing? The sheer terror in his face. But yeah, a wonderful place to visit. And also, they have events throughout the year. So today they've got the car show hosted by the Glamorgan Car Club. But come towards Christmas, they do the toy mine, and they have a big Santa's grotto, and they do a Halloween mine. And I think the Halloween mine particularly is very celebrated. So absolutely worth coming down here and having a look, folks. We've just come out of the underground tour, which was absolutely fantastic. Our tour leader was called John, and he actually is a former miner here at the Lewis Merthyr Colliery. And it was a really fascinating insight because he started mining when he was 15. And when he started, it was still hand mining the coal. It was only in 1966 that changed. Also, just to note, the shafts went down 1,340 feet. That is 10 of those, which is incredible. We saw the Trevor and Bertie engines, which were just fascinating. And I don't want to give too much away because the tour is really good. What did you think about the tour?
It was very good. Personally, Trevor's my favourite.
Controversial. Yeah, you should be at work. Should have been working for years, this one. Absolute slacker. Are you still doing that school malarkey?
Yeah.
Slacker, not bringing anything to the household. But yeah, I think that's a good moment to end our day here at Rhondda Heritage Park. What a brilliant place to come. I believe the Heritage Park itself is free, but you have to pay for the tickets to the underground tour, but I would definitely do it. It's absolute worth doing. We might go and have some chocolates just to recover from our, underground traumas. Oh, somebody thinks that's a very good idea. But a huge thank you to Scott, who got us the tour for free of charge. And thank you for inviting us. I actually did come here when I was like 16. I didn't have the appreciation that I have for it now, but you loved it, didn't you? And we won't give things away because the tour is something special. But thank you for watching, and hopefully we will see you in another Miss Hubnut video soon. Diolch yn fawr a hwyl fawr. Hwyl fawr. Hwyl fawr. Is that how we're going to end them? Hwyl fawr.